slow? Be moved.
Was he slow?
Was he slow?
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you just watched Baby Driver. Now, obligatory, right afterward, here is a music video for Mint Royale's Blue song that Edgar Wright directed early in his career. You might recognize some elements from this.
Is this the place?
Yep, this is the place.
How long?
2-3 minutes max.
Could you be a bit more specific?
2.5 to 3 minutes.
You can call it 2:45.
2:45.
No, more. 2:54.
Okay, 2:54.
Then you got a watch.
That don't read too good. Okay, you got 2 minutes, 54 seconds from now.
Right through my head. I ain't got the blues no more, I said. Steps on more, I said. Pick me up, saying I got my duty, I ain't. Right through my head. I ain't got the blues no more, I said. Steps on more, I said. Pick me up, saying I got my duty, I ain't. Right in my head. I ain't got the blues no more, I said. Steps on more, I said. Pick me up, saying I got my duty, I ain't. Right in my head. I ain't got the blues no more, I said. Steps on more, I said. Pick me up, saying I got my duty, I ain't. Right through my hand. I ain't got the blues no more, I said. Steps on more, I said. Pick me up, saying I got my duty, I ain't. Right through my hand. I ain't got the blues no more, I said.
I think you find that was more like 3 minutes.
So yes, that's Noel Fielding. That is the cast of The Mighty Boosh. And also, you might recognize a very young Nick Frost. Now, why you might recognize those people are from a lot of other projects, but Edgar Wright's first major project is this show called Spaced, which if you have never seen it, is fucking fantastic. Spaced is like the inspiration for so many American shows. It is 2 seasons long, and I think it is one of the best comedies ever made. It's soulful, it's brilliant, and it's where Simon Pegg and Nick Frost got their start, along with Edgar Wright. Because they worked together on Spaced, they would end up making Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and World's End, along with some other projects. But that is where that trifecta started. And Edgar Wright ended up making this music video for Mint Royale after Spaced, right? And he enjoyed the premise of this music video so much that he decided to build it out into a feature-length film that would become Baby Driver, what you just watched. Baby Driver is a really interesting film because compared to the other Edgar Wright projects, it does not get the same amount of love. Period. Full stop. It does not get the same amount of love. People will always talk about Shaun of the Dead. They'll always talk about Hot Fuzz, and they will never mention Baby Driver. I think Baby Driver is one of those movies where if you don't recognize the gimmick, if you don't understand how technical what he is doing is, thank you so much for the raid, VegCom, I think you can lose the entire project and how brilliant it is. Because there is not one action in that film that is not on beat except for one. And it is brilliant. It is fucking brilliant. It is right after he gets into a funk, he bumps into a guy, right? He bumps into a guy and spills the coffee. What is said in his headphones right after he bumps into the guy? Move to the left. Fucking cinema. Because he's depressed and he's off beat that single instance. So the timing of this movie, the amount of like little tiny Easter eggs that there are to find in this movie is so fucking phenomenal. And I think people watch it and they just see a chase movie and they don't see enough driving. They don't see enough shooting and they tuned out on it. They wanted it to be something it's not. I'm going to tell you something crazy. I think this is less of a chase movie, hear me out, and more of a slasher. Hear me out. This movie's violence is so graphic and sudden that I can only describe it as a slasher. Go back and watch how all the characters die. It is fucking insane. You can literally take those deaths and put them in a Halloween. You can put them in any fucking slasher horror movie and they fit perfectly. Kevin Spacey getting hit by the car. Fucking John Hamm blowing up. The pipes through the head of bats, dude. Every death in this movie is so violent. Now, it's not a slasher in the traditional sense that it is like a horror movie, but more in like the Dario Argento sudden and meaningless death to be shocking and remind you of the mortality of life. Nothing in this movie is as like poetic as the lines in it, right? It's so weird to have these like ultra poetic lines like, when my boyfriend sees red, all you'll see is black. And then in the next scene, just have her shot to death instantly, right? Usually when you have those long diatribes, you juxtapose it with these long, drawn out, like in Heat. A lot of the deaths in Heat are like, not in this movie. The deaths are just, you're blipped. You're gone. And I fucking love that. It is such a great movie to me. Edgar Wright, as I said, a lot of people ask me my top 5. Edgar Wright for me is one of the best modern directors. He does so many cool projects. If you haven't gone back and watched all of his films, I would highly recommend it. Number 1 being Shaun of the Dead. I think Shaun of the Dead is the best zombie movie ever. I think it's one of the best satires ever. And it is this is film class. You're new here. It is a fantastic project that if you've never seen, definitely spend the time and watch it, particularly if you like horror or zombie films. Obviously, I touched on one of the reasons any gun film, any Edgar Wright film, Dirty Dancing is the number one to me. The Dirty Dancing soundtrack is fucking peak. Anyway, we're going to move on. Let me finish my diatribe and then I'll open up to questions. As I said, I think part of the reason this movie fell out of favor so fast was it had a bad theatrical run, and right before and after, the Kevin Spacey cancellation was like escalating and then peaked. And so Baby Driver was, compared to other Edgar Wright projects, was not received well. It was not received well. And so it, to me, is his lost project. When you compare it to Scott Pilgrim and everything else, it is just not a movie that really got a lot of shine. So I'm glad you guys watched it. Whose first time was it tonight seeing Baby Driver? Was it also because Ansel got accused as well? No, Ansel was not accused for another like 5 or 6 years of being like a sex pest. But the Kevin Spacey stuff was just starting to heat up when this movie came out. Anyway, yeah, we got a lot of first timers. I've given you my diatribe as to why I love this film, as to why I love Edgar Wright. That is the diatribe part of film night. Sometimes I'll do a much longer one, but I've been streaming for the last 11 hours. Is Ansel baby? Ansel is baby. That's the actor. So here's what I do. After I give my diatribe, I open it. I open the floor. This is now a Socratic method learning. You can ask questions about this film, about Edgar Wright, about other films. Quick Edgar Wright tier list. No, you can ask a question though. Were Ansel allegations true? I don't know enough about that to talk on it, honestly. Are you at 12 hours? I am at 12 hours. Have you watched Kneecap yet? Yes. Thoughts at World's End. I really like At World's End. I think it's the weakest of the Cornetto trilogy by a mile. Will, what's your killer track? Time to Dance by The Shoes. Where does this soundtrack rank? So I think part of the genius of this soundtrack is the lyrics. The pacing is fantastic, but if you go through the lyrics, almost every film or every song is about a character named Baby or about baby, and all the lyrics are tuned to fit the scene perfectly. So I don't know if it is like the most jammy soundtrack top to bottom. There are films that maybe get it edge, like Guardians of the Galaxy is a hard one to beat. That soundtrack's fucking phenomenal. But the lyrics are so tuned to the film. It's incredible. What do you think the way autistic people are portrayed in movies? I'm autistic and I think it comes off very autism is my superpower. A lot of times I thought it wasn't too bad in this one. I think this is a pretty fair portrayal. And I don't know if he's ever explicitly autistic. I would say he's more described as a neurodivergent OCD character. I think he's obsessive compulsive disorder more than he's autistic in this movie. And I think that's pretty clear, like when he can't even drive the car without having a song. But I think it is a broad kind of like neurodivergence that they are depicting. I think that's cool, to be honest. Like, Baby is a flawed character, and I think some of the neurodivergent tendencies that they portray in this movie aren't like superpower. Yes, he's good at driving, which is obviously his focus, but he does a lot of other like real neurodivergent things, like masking, like, you know, obsessive eye contact, like certain things that are real and that are flawed and that he gets made fun of like relentlessly throughout the course of the movie. Like at no point are people like, wow, you're a superhero. In fact, he's even called the R word at one point, like 3 or 4 times in the beginning of the movie. So I don't think this movie is offensive in that it's like, look, autistic people, you can just conquer the world if you focus on doing whatever. I think it's much more of a fair representation of like a neurodivergent person, but like elevated because he's in a chase movie. You know what I mean? He's in a fucking car chase movie. You know what I mean? Was Deborah in on it? What in on what? What do you think the reasoning? What reasoning do you think Shaun of the Dead is the best zombie film? I think it's the best horror comedy, but not the best zombie film. Personally, I saw it's just so good that I think it reaches escape velocity in being like the greatest film attempted in the zombie genre. Do I think it is the best horror movie in the like pure horror zombie film? No, but it is so elevated. It is one of my pure 10s. It is like one of 50 pure 10 movies I've ever seen in my life, like pure 10, 0, perfect film. 28 Days Later and Shaun of the Dead are like this for me. They're like this for me. But Shaun of the Dead is, oh man, I'm going to be honest, just for me, I remember what my life was like before I saw Shaun of the Dead and after I saw Shaun of the Dead. I Napster downloaded every song on the soundtrack. I watched it over and over and over and over again. I went and bought the spaced DVDs on eBay and had them fucking sent from the UK so that I could watch them. Like, my life changed after I watched Shaun of the Dead. So it's hard for me, but if I had to name another zombie movie that would take that throne, it's 28 Days Later. And it's there are people will say Train to Busan. I love Train to Busan. It's a 9 out of 10. It's a fantastic movie. It's nowhere close to 28 Days Later, Shaun of the Dead, period. Did you notice the rainbow at the end matching the Dolly Parton lyrics? Yes, I did. But I don't think that was Dolly Parton. Wasn't that Simon and Garfunkel at the end? What do you think of How to Train Your Dragon? I think the writing style was very reminiscent of Edgar Wright. I have never compared the two, but I really like the original How to Train Your Dragon. Why does Baby drive best in red cars? Qual, that is a fantastic question. That is a fantastic question. Why is Baby always in red cars? Well, I'll tell you. It is because one of the first lessons in film school, if you actually go look at film textbooks, is that red objects in a frame always pull attention. And so they tell you not to have like red cars is the example I was given in your frame that aren't relevant to the movie. Do not put red objects in the frame that are not relevant to the story. So Baby's red car always pulls focus. It's a focus thing. It allows you to identify his car in the frame. And obviously red is a fast color, but that is it. They always tell you in frames, if you've ever heard of mirrors run, the reason that the red objects are the ones you interact with. Yes, I'll get to that in a second. But that's a little color theory for you. Mirror's Edge? Yeah, right? That's the game. You mixed Mirror's Edge and Logan's Run? Alerts are off? I don't care. I'm teaching. You said run. Oh, Mirror's Edge. Sorry, Mirror's Edge. Yeah. Do I think there's meaning behind the Easy being played twice? Yeah, it's his mom's song. How long did it take for Wright to perfect all the edits for Baby Driver? I don't know that offhand, but I assume he and whoever his editor is, I think he might have an editor. I don't know if he edits everything himself. I assume it was a exhaustive process to edit the whole film to the sound like that, because I'm sure they had to shoot everything with that in mind as well. And so I'm sure the shooting process was also augmented to get things on a beat, right? There are some shots where they don't cut, where they're getting gunshots. Like dum, dum, dum. Like particularly for Hocus Pocus Focus. So they had to like get that shot. Was Bethal's character killed off screen? No, the Punisher just lives. He just lives through the movie. He doesn't die. He's just, they talk about how he uses different people every time, so that character just lives. But his prediction is right, by the way. Remember, he says Baby's going to have to get his hands bloody. Do you think this movie was robbed of an Oscar? I think it could have won Best Editing or Best Soundtrack. I don't know if a film like this is ever going to win Best Picture or, you know, Best Director or anything like that. But Best Editing and Best Soundtrack, maybe. Both Bats and Buddy threaten Deborah, but Baby only chooses to kill Bats directly. His only murder in the entire film. Why do you think that is? Because Bats is the worst, most repugnant piece of shit in film history. He killed a guy over a pack of gum. Like he's Sugar. Like Baby just snaps, right? Like when he kills that security guard, I think Baby just realizes that he's not going to get out alive unless Bats is dead. Are there supposed to be parallels between Buddy and Baby's asswipe father? That's an interesting theory. I've never thought of that. I think it's more there's a parallel between Buddy and Baby. I think Buddy is kind of a grim harbinger of who Baby will be if he stays in the business. Because remember, that last police chase only happens because Baby crashes the car. Baby could just have stayed in, right? Baby could just have stayed in the business and turned Deborah into another good girl whose life is like tied to crime. You know what I mean? So like that scene where they're both one headphone in listening to a song, I think that is supposed to be like a grim, like this could be your future. I agree this is one of Jon Hamm's best post Mad Men role. How do you feel about his role since? John never seems to get the good enough projects. He was great in Fargo. Fargo was fucking sick. He was great in that. Do you think Deborah is a bad actor? No, I think she's phenomenal in this movie. I think her chemistry with Baby is like some of the best chemistry I've seen. Like she is in love with him. I think people, because the movie is a little hoked up, they're like, but like, I never doubt that she would take a bullet for Baby, like at all. Like she is, you know, I've met that girl. I know that, like not that actress, but I know that type of girl that's just so in love with their boyfriend that like they'll go to hell and back. Unfortunately, that girl usually ends up in a shitty relationship, kind of like this. But you know, Baby gets out. But I've known girl types like that where she's just so in love, and she sweats that in this movie. She nails it. Another great detail in the movie, Debbie says she always wanted to ride west on 20 and go as fast as they can. With the movie taking place in Atlanta, she took Baby out on I-20 until they reached Monroe, Louisiana on their way to Mexico. That's fucking good detail. That's a good detail. 100% when I first saw Baby Driver, it was simply a quirky driving heist movie for me, and never knew Edgar Wright was such a visionary and didn't think this general moviegoer knows how him as a household name. Do you think Edgar Wright is among the big names like Scorsese? Not in the United States. In the UK, yes. In the US, no. I don't. In the UK, I do think Edgar Wright is like, he's built diff. They know him. Marvel did him dirty. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, he was supposed to direct Ant-Man. Do you think there is a reason for only wire headphones? When the movie came out, I don't think there were AirPods yet, and I think wired headphones read better on camera. Hi, Caroline. Because I heard boy flipping a dick. No, I'm about to end. I'm 12 hours solid streaming. No. I know. I'm cooked. Reading? No, you're not doing any book learning in this house. We're watching a movie. We have the season finale of The Rehearsal. We're watching The Rehearsal. We're not going to book learn in this house. You're doing a morning stream? Fine. You can do a morning stream, but there will be no book learning. Bringing book learning into this house? Go start reading. Go start reading. Goddamn book learning. That's right. You're under my roof. You ain't gonna do no book learning. Because I can't read them nerd words. I don't know what you're doing. It's sneaky. I don't like it. Why didn't Ansel's career take off? It kind of did. I mean, he got his own HBO show that went crazy. But then there were a lot of allegations that he was an all-around piece of shit as well. And he was also in West Side Story. Yeah, his career absolutely exploded, to be honest. Edgar Wright would have been wasted in Marvel. I disagree. I think he would have fucking made an incredible movie. The part about Baby reusing words from movies is not just an autism thing. It's him sampling lines the same way we have samples in music. That's true. I agree. But I do think it was Edgar Wright's intention to make him a neurodivergent character. Again, I don't think it's like hard line one way or the other. I think that Edgar is probably neurodivergent himself and wanted to represent that in his protagonist. Honestly, to me, Edgar strikes me as a atypical thought pattern anyway. And so for him making an atypical thought pattern main character just makes too much sense to me. Why does the boss suddenly decide to help? I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think he feels really bad for Baby. I think he is reminded of a former love when he sees Deborah. And I think he knows he's cooked. What makes the scene where Baby drops off Joe hit hard seems intense? I think there is something about being elderly and infirmed that is like universal, that reminds us of our parents and loved ones. And the way he records that tape and gives the little details about how he likes to watch the television and stuff. I mean, that's just good writing. That's fantastic. Could you speak on the difficulty of cutting a film so in tune with the soundtrack? Could it be done as effectively with the original, with an originally composed soundtrack? No, because an originally composed soundtrack would almost be cheating, right? Because then you could compose the moments to land on the beats that you are filming. The magic of using songs that everyone knows is like, it's like the three parts of a magic trick, right? It's the show. You're literally showing them, oh, you know the song, Hocus Pocus by Focus. Well, watch how I'm going to sync it up here. Like that's what draws you in, right? Like, you know, like that is where you're like, damn, he really did that, because you know an original soundtrack that you've never heard before, you don't know the conventions, so you can't see the craft. You understand? That's a kind of what superhero movies did with the old whack wham, etc. Yeah, kind of. Do you have any notes on how Edgar Wright uses his backgrounds? Can you explain what you mean by backgrounds? Is there anything significant about the toy cars that the boss is putting up at the end when baby comes back? I don't know. I would have to look at that. The set, there aren't many sets in this, really. I think there are a lot of really good location scouts in this. I don't think there are many like pure sets. Atlanta is a very interesting backdrop for a UK-based filmmaker, but I assume he did that because it was cheaper to film that there than in LA. Is there any foreshadowing to Baby Driver like Edgar Wright does so heavy in some of his other films? Is there any foreshadowing to Baby Driver? Well, the music video, right, is like the craziest foreshadowing of all time, right? He basically told you he was going to make a movie in a music video, and then in the movie, he features the music video like, I did it. I really like this music video. I made it into an hour and 40-minute long film that people love. But if you like the foreshadowing, like the Cornetto trilogy has so much of it. I mean, narratively, like in his other films, no. Actually, I don't know what the fuck you mean with Peace and Love, because I've been talking about the foreshadowing all night. Are you talking about like the plant and payoffs? I've been talking about that all fucking night. The lines on the TV, the songs, the fucking, like everything in the movie is a plant and payoff. Almost the entire film is a plant and payoff. That's what I've been talking about for the last 30 minutes. Are you talking about foreshadowing in other projects? It's the music video. Can we watch Real Genius next week, please? Probably not. I don't know what I would tell you about Real Genius as an important film. Do you think there were any correlation between the boss's safe word bananas and the baby told him the old man had a banana in his ear? Interesting. That's an interesting plant and payoff. Could be. Could be. Thoughts on Night in Soho? Oh, yeah. I got to be honest. Last Night in Soho is the stinker of the bunch. Last Night in Soho is just not a great movie. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm okay with the thoughts on there because it's another Edgar Wright film. What is a film that you adore but understand and realize that it's subpar, underwhelming movie overall? Conan the Barbarian. Kind of interesting. The boss told him he'd be driving for the next 25 years and then he was sentenced to 25 years. Okay, these are really good plant and payoffs you guys are noticing. The film has a ton of them. Do we have any other questions about this movie, about movies in general? Because I've been streaming for 12 hours and I want to get out of here. Do you think the reason the movie is the black sheep for Wright is because the main character is the most heroic of any of his movies? No. I think it's the black sheep because he's a British director who used an all-American cast in one of his first all-American films. And again, I think Kevin Spacey's cancellation and also the fact that audiences went in expecting one thing and got another. There are a lot of instances of this throughout film history. Movies that are really good, but because audiences had an expectation going in, they didn't enjoy it. Another famous example of this is Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut is a fantastic film, but audiences initially fucking hated it. And the reason being is because they all went in expecting a very sexy, like, ooh, this is going to be fun. We're going to watch Tom Cruise fuck and have fun and it's crazy and it's awesome and it's great. It ended up being like one of the most cautionary tales about sex and relationship and interpersonal relationships ever. And it's not erotic. In fact, it's the opposite. It'll make your penis shrivel up. So audiences fucking hated that. There was a donation asking about the Willy Wonka to Snowpiercer theory. I am going to be honest. It makes no sense. I don't understand the Willy Wonka to Snowpiercer theory. There are a lot of fan theories I like. I have read the Willy Wonka to Snowpiercer theory. It doesn't really make sense. It's like one of the most fleeting, slapping theories I've ever encountered. There are a lot of good fan theories. Darth Jar Jar Binks. The Boltons are actually skinwalker demons. Like there are a lot of fan theories that I will bite into. That one is one where I'm like, oh, someone smoked a little weed and was like, this is kind of vaguely like this. And then that was it. Historically, how do directors who are popular in their own home country but then do a production in the US get a green light? That is so varied, bro. That's like asking how do people put on pants. There's a 1,000 different ways. I mean, usually it's because someone has a successful money-making film wherever they're from, and some production group in the United States wants some of that money. That's the concise answer, but the way that manifests is 1,000 different ways. Do you think being known for comedy held him back? I don't think Edgar Wright is held back, honestly. I think Edgar Wright can do what he wants to do and has made millions of dollars. I think the only thing that is like being held back is his perceived prestige among other Criterion directors. Best production group? God, right now, A24, honestly. Brother, 90% of people who don't know who Edgar Wright is, let's be real. But that's exact. You're agreeing with me, Boppo Pop. Like, Edgar Wright is a millionaire, mega millionaire, right? Probably near $100 million to his name. He can make any movie he wants to make. In fact, he made a movie trilogy called the Cornetto Trilogy, where the unifying principle in them were actors that he grew up with, and he put in his favorite ice cream in every one of them. So, like, he's not limited in terms of his filmmaking. He's limited in the sense that the perceived prestige of audiences will rarely mention him in the top 5 directors, although he should be. I don't know if that is a shortcoming that really can be amended by anything other than like a publicist. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. Do you think musicians were hired to help with the syncing? No, I don't. I think this is just his shit. Do you think you would enjoy the film more with the Cornetto cast? Oh, yes. Dude, this movie would be an Can you imagine if Nick Frost did the role of Kevin Spacey? Like, can you imagine? This film wouldn't be like have the stink on it that it has. Like, I think it would be one of those movies that would absolutely be heralded as a classic instead of being a separate the art from the artist. Who wins in a getaway, Baby or Ryan Gosling's character in Drive? I think Drive is a much more serious film, but if you actually look at the driving in the movies, Baby's driving is fucking insane. Baby's handbrake work is like, it's like video game shit. Drive is incredible. In no way do I want to denigrate that film. It's one of my favorite films, maybe the best soundtrack ever, a real human being. However, watching Baby Drive is fucking sick. Really sick. They had every track picked out to each scene first. Then they had to make the edit fit perfectly to each scene. So they had to have live editing on set. That is true. They had this soundtrack picked out before they went through the film. And honestly, not just the edit was planned around it, but the action. Like they really planned everything around it syncing, and the attention to detail that's the craft. How do you like Nightcrawler? It's incredible. Thoughts on Pig? Pig is a very confused movie that, in spite of being so nebulous in its focus, ends up being pretty good. The thing you said about the long poetic dialogue juxtaposed with quick, brutal deaths made me think of Penguin. I would love to comment on the opening and ending in particular, but don't want to spoil. But I'm wondering if you have any thoughts. Love Penguin. Penguin is one of the best Cape projects ever made. It was fucking amazing. This is my third film night and I'm hooked. Thank you for this. Oh, fuck yeah. All right, well, guys, I've been streaming for 12 hours. Question. Other than that person, Maloon Balloon, who's new to film night? One's in chat if you are relatively new to film night. All right, we got some relatively new. Okay, we got some people that are lying, and then we actually have some real people that are new. I see some people without logos next to their name, and I'm so flattered to have you here. It is crazy. Film night has grown exponentially. He had fucking almost 8,000 people here tonight, which is insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah, guys, I've been doing film night for the last 5 years. It is absolutely my fucking pleasure to do this. We started film night with 14 people watching movies in a Discord. Naisu was here. He can tell you it was a very wild time. I appreciate how much this community has grown. It has been wild. We do this every Wednesday. And as you can see, I care about this. I care about that. I care about movies. I was a lonely kid growing up. I had a lot of family trouble, and movies were my escape. And so I know movies are silly. Whatever passion you have is probably silly. But to me, movies are important. So when I get a chance to share my passion with people, it's a real pleasure. And then when I can see that passion, that joy, that spark echoed back at me, it's fantastic. But the great thing about movies, and the thing I would remind you while the internet is ablaze, is the best thing about movies. Best thing about movies. The absolute fucking best thing about movies is the catharsis and the empathy. Movies allow you to live the lives of hundreds and thousands of protagonists, villains, and everything in between, to walk many, many, many walks of life, and to feel something, a connection with artists, with people, with heroes, with everything in between. And that's the beauty. That's the good shit. Is really, it's just a way of connecting. And just like when you read a book and there is a passage that you feel like you wrote yourself, and all of a sudden you don't feel so alone in the world, there's something similar to the effect of film, where when you watch something that you feel like you already have been there, that's it, man. That connection, that moment. So anyway, chat, remember you're not alone. Remember you can always connect with someone. Remember that there is a wide world of adventure and beauty and love outside of this fucking chat. Get you someone who looks at you like Deborah. because for every pot, there is a lid, and there's someone out there who will look at you just like that. Anyway, I appreciate you all. Thank you for coming to Will Neff's Movie Night. It is my pleasure to watch movies with you and to do my best to broaden your artistic endeavor, your artistic scope, your taste, whatever. And if this movie you didn't enjoy, I doubt you'd still be here, but if you didn't enjoy this one, we do a different movie every Wednesday. So come back next time, and I guarantee you every week there will be a different type of movie from a different country with a different focus and a different runtime and a different director. And anyway, last thing, if you wanted to catch up on movie night, we have a list of over 200 films that we have watched. It's a lettered box. We can share it right now before we leave. Anyway, there it is right there. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. You have changed my life in a meaningful way. You've put a roof over my head. You put gas in my tank. And you give me a reason to hop out of bed and work my ass off every day. So with that being said, I'm going to send you to one of my favorite VTubers who doesn't get enough credit. And you guys are going to absolutely drop a bunch of subs and make her night. I will do the same. I'll drop 5 if you drop 5, if they drop 5, if we all drop 5. I'll be back tomorrow, Thursday. Come back. We're going to be doing some gaming. I might be playing some more Night Rain. Appreciate you so much, everybody. Stay dangerous. And good night.